Also, thank you for the follow earlier. Dick, if we're unfamiliar with Dino, can we ask what he's about? Well, I believe Dino is absolutely the type of person you should just pepper with questions constantly. He loves the inquisitive nature. It's his favorite thing to do, right?
I almost shot you, and then I realized I don't have a mod badge in here. You almost died, but it's okay.
Dino loves questions. It's his favorite. Otherwise, though, Dino is one of the best retro game streamers I know of on this Purple Hell site. You should absolutely follow him. He didn't get that Twitch partner badge for nothing. Man,
very kind of you.
Man absolutely puts in the work. Me and my friends do be talking about, damn, he put in more work than I'm willing to on this Purple Hell site. Where does he stream at? Well, you should hit !Dino. Anybody can do that.
Every day, twitch.tv/Bluto.
I should probably just start at the beginning. The name's Sly. Sly Cooper, and I'm a thief. From a long line of thieves. In fact, thieving is the family business. And business was good. Although, until recently, I considered myself retired. Having hung up my mask and cane, I was enjoying life on the other side of the law. In the company of a certain lovely Interpol agent named
God damn, bro.
Carmelita Fox. She and I had a history, which generally involved her trying to lock me up. So, I should mention our current situation was only possible because she thought I had amnesia. I didn't. It was great to finally enjoy each other's company without a shock pistol being involved, and we quickly put the past behind us. But as time went on, the old itch came back, and I knew I needed to pull a heist. I should also mention
the
that
Green
as a
Goblin
master, I only steal from other thieves. So it took me a while, but I finally found what I was looking for. My target was an upstart art mogul, a real hotshot collector. He seemed respectable, had even opened a new museum. But I could smell a rat. Reliable sources told me he was dealing in black market antiques worth millions. So I felt he should share the wealth. I was working on a plan when one night, as if on cue, Bentley showed up. Bentley was the brains of our operation, the mastermind. We grew up in the same orphanage.
Why was he carrying that cookie jar?
Our very first
Murray eating
and we've been
crayon.
best friends and partners ever since. We hadn't seen each other for a while, but I knew immediately that something was up.
All right, I forgot to make myself transparent. Chat room, why didn't you yell at me about it?
His time off too, building a new lab from scratch with his girlfriend and fellow tech whiz, Penelope.
Whoa, her design is way different. Holy shit.
And the two of them had really hit it
Yeah.
off. Apparently, they just finished work on a top secret project when Penelope had simply vanished.
What?
Bentley was worried sick. He searched frantically but found nothing. Then, he noticed something that completely stunned him. In his spare time, Bentley had been researching the Thievius Raccoonus, the Master Thief's handbook passed down through the Cooper family for generations. Its pages overflowing with the exploits and secret techniques of my esteemed ancestors. Only now, those pages weren't so full. In fact, they were disappearing right before Bentley's eyes. Realizing there was no time to waste, he gathered his gear and raced off to Paris.
Oh my god.
The first thing Bentley did was track down Murray, the third in our trio. Murray was our enforcer, the muscle, and the guy who'd eaten all the cookies we stole back in our orphanage days. Through the years, the three of us had become an unbeatable team, and we were more like a family now than a gang. Murray had been living his dream on the pro driving circuit, where his van had become famous, or rather infamous, for all the crashes he'd caused.
Merle, you can't do that. That's murder.
Due to his high insurance premiums, and he moved into Demolition Derby, where he remained undefeated.
Yeah, that tracks.
When Bentley showed up, however, Murray dropped everything to help out. Especially when Bentley explained that his van was the key to the whole plan. With Carmelita distracted by a new assignment, I took the opportunity to slip away and met up with the guys at our old Paris hideout. Bentley launched into one of his elaborate presentations, and I saw the whole scary picture. Someone, or something, was literally erasing Cooper history. Then, to our amazement, Bentley revealed that he already had the solution: time travel. It turns out his top secret project was constructing a time machine. And now he modified the design to fit into Murray's van.
He hinted that in the last game.
We were going to travel back in time, stop those responsible, and fix the damage they'd done. Bentley explained the only catch was that in order to travel to a particular time, the machine required an object from that era. We knew from the changes to the Thieves Raccoonus that our first stop was feudal Japan. So here we were, about to steal a priceless 17th century samurai dagger from the same museum I'd been casing. Funny how things work out sometimes.
Love the
Oh,
animation.
that the cutscenes. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I'm glad that they're fucking animated now.
Look, I would absolutely watch. Oh. Okay, so remind me after we hit a save point to turn on the asynchronous texture streaming. It was not recommended as a, hey, you gotta turn this shit on, but oof.
Plan, right? Of course! My mind is like a steel cap!
That's trap, big guy. And everybody relax. We've been over it 1,000,000 times. What could possibly go wrong?
Famous last words. Look, we're only gonna get one shot at this, so we can't mess up.
All right, no messing up allowed. Now stop worrying. This is gonna be a piece of cake. I'll see you both inside. Now let's get going.
All right, I know the bit you're all waiting for. Let's see if I can do it. Sly, I'm really just here to make sure that I could get my tier 3 sub back to Penelope.
I forgot we did that bit.
Whoa!
This is way better than the last time we saw it. Well, that'll happen with a an upgrade from a 2080 Super to a 4070 Ti.
I think my computer still has like a 3070, which is fine because I stream NES games.
Crazy how that might be a slight overkill for your needs.
BizHawk runs so good on the new PC.
Software mode doesn't stand a chance. Can the 50 series run Steambot Chronicles?
Probably not.
If you find the need to adjust your perspective on things, you can move the camera around you.
Excellent. It's perfect for peeking around corners.
Can't believe you're telling me how to use the camera, Bentley.
Me when I go to jail.
Immediately get caught.
It's a really ineffective spotlight too. It only illuminates that one circle.
Can this thing you're using run totally real, which is totally real, run DS games? If you pray hard enough to your local parish.
Have they tricked you into playing? What the fuck was it? Chat room. What's the furry one for the DS? I don't remember the name of it.
The one that like Deca fucking is obsessed with, fucking Solo de Robo.
Now see, it's really incriminating that you knew the name from incomplete data. It's even more incriminating that multiple people in the this was a sting operation.
This was actually you literally set up a fucking honeypot.
You can't risk going down to street level right now.
Not a problem, Bentley.
Look, I know it because Deca has absolutely begged me multiple times of like, hey, so you're gonna stream that, right? And every single time I have gone, yeah, sure, dog. And I have I've done the same that every streamer does. Of yeah,
put it on your list.
It's
never
on the
to be
list
seen again. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really incriminating, Dino. Do you not know the space you occupy at all?
I'll be a ghost.
The list TM. Here's the thing. My list is real.
Business.
I'm pretty sure Dino's even is.
Yes. Yes. It takes forever to get around to things on it, but it is a real text document with words on it.
Exactly. Mine is the same way. It's a fucking massive list of... I think I'm up to 300 now. Although I will admit, at least like 50 of those are sports ball and fucking potential rough houses.
That was too close.
This seems like a lot of security for the first mission in the game.
Yeah, and we're not even near the fucking museum.
On the other hand, I guess it makes sense, because if they've been time traveling back in time to erase Cooper history, they must know that forwards in time that you would go here to try and stop them from going back in time to do that.
So here's the thing. Do you think they would be smart enough to try and say time is a circle?
I don't imagine this game is going to even attempt to explain it.
You know what? I happen to agree.
Guess I'm a little out of practice.
How are you out of practice, Sly? That wasn't your fault.
Say something, Sly?
No, it's been like 20 years, dude.
Okay, it looks like you're going to have to find
I mean, I'm still hitting jump and then the circle button to ninja spire jump. I don't know what to tell you, dog.
I think I can handle that.
That's why I was saying before the stream started, this is like the perfect time to play this. If we had gone straight to this, it wouldn't have felt right. But now that we're rusty as hell, and Sly is also rusty as hell, it makes perfect sense.
It's perfect. It's narrative, chat room. This was a 2-year buffer.
This was a necessary time skip.
I'm so happy someone else classifies Sly in this game like at least 40 years old, because goddamn. Well, yeah, isn't Sly supposed to be like just barely 20 in like the first game?
That sounds right, but I don't know.
He's almost as
silhouettes
old
in
as
here.
Dick. You mean Dick is almost as old as Sly? I'm only in my fucking 30s. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Sure, man. Yeah, all right, Grandpa. Let's get you to bed.
What is this narrative? I'm being slandered.
I mean, I assume we're about the same age.
Inside.
We are about the same age.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What is this?
33 at the moment.
I'm 32. I remember that.
Yeah.
Careful now. That's the skyline we want. Move slowly until when you're close enough.
Oh, hell yeah.
Press the circle button to pick his pocket.
You're younger than I thought. My bad. My bad. It's fine.
Peek up behind it.
Yes.
Now use the key to unlock the skylight.
No, I've kept in mind that, oh yeah, Dino's only a year older than me. I've had to remember everyone's ages over the years, just relatively.
Let me know when you shut down the security system.
Patience, Sly. You can't rush greatness, and I'm about to code a hacking masterpiece.
Was that a curse?
I like that Bentley's gotten full of himself.
Interesting. The last time I was in these sewers, I was.
Why does he arch his back when like that when pressing the button? Lucy, I do that. What are you saying?
Disgusting. My bomb should make short work of that grate. I just need to press the triangle button to place.
Oh my god, I nuked those rats!
The triangle button. I didn't even know that did anything in those games.
What do you mean? Bentley loves the triangle button. It's the munitions button.
There's nothing stealthier than placing some small ordnance.
Well, when you get down to it, Dino, somebody has to be the person who, you know, blows shit up.
Did you just do a fucking wheelchair drift?
But you better believe it, dog.
Press and hold the X button. Thank you, technology. Great, that platform is blocked. I'll have to throw a bomb to clear it off. If I press and hold the, that's a direct hit.
Interrupts his
If I
own
follow that
monologue.
filthy water, I'm buying a new shell.
Look, I love the idea that he is so committed to demolitions, he's willing to interrupt himself. You found a slime! Yes!
Wow.
What's the unlockables menu? I can't find we ain't got shit, Captain.
If I remember this right, because I haven't played this in probably like a decade, I think it unlocks like different parachute designs for your glider or whatever.
What the fuck is chalk talk?
I think those are when Bentley's yapping about the plan.
Oh, like the big scheme.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Feels like Bentley automatically has the run upgrade from the last game that makes him run faster. I don't know.
Why didn't I wear my rubber gloves?
You are wearing rubber gloves,
Yeah,
Bentley.
what are you talking about, man?
Is he stupid?
Does he know? Oh, there he is.
According to the
Gamers,
control
let's go.
right underneath
How's it gaming?
Gamer.
We are currently blasting shit.
Instant shortcut.
Thank you for immediately shouting out Deca. Oh god.
Oh, you're not that far in.
Yeah, we're in the intro mission.
Phew. Talk about your
I'm very
close
thankful that
shaves.
my work does not
How's that
track my
security
miles
system coming, Bentley?
going home.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah, why is that?
'Cause I zoomed. I zoomed the.
I was telling Dino that, like, oh yeah, no, he is actively rushing home.
It takes 40 minutes to get from work to home. I did it in like 22.
Next time, I'm giving Sly a sewer job.
Blast that motherfucker. Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
for a
get him, Billy.
Bentley hack attack.
I only did a mildly decent Bentley earlier. We're 1 for 2 with decent Bentley noises impressions.
This game is reminding me. Watching this reminded me that we almost had a Sly Cooper movie, and then they canned it for what I'm now assuming was for tax write-offs.
I mean, the way that the fucking Ratchet and Clank movie turned out, is it wrong to feel like I also it's not gonna be it wasn't gonna be that great?
Hey, Dick.
I mean,
This ought to do the trick.
Well, how are we going to do the hacking games that require tilting the 6-axis?
Good question.
all right.
I am using an 8-bit controller, which has gyro.
Okay, I was about to say, I thought about it. I'm like, this is going to be a problem.
The big guns, baby. These gigabomb shells will crush those firewalls.
Is it bad that I almost made a very poor taste joke in the Bentley voice when he said, "The gigabomb shells"?
Security drones. Dodge them or blast them.
Did you know that the most dangerous word you can type on your keyboard is bigger?
That
That's my response to that.
look, all I'm saying is, fucking, I think of the nega chin every day from Fairly Odd Parents. I don't think Bentley could say it. Absolutely, he cannot say it under no circumstances.
Time to dock the ship.
I don't care if he sold everything he's ever stole to pay for it. He does not have the pass.
Penelope once disguised herself as the Black Baron. Remember, chat room? In Sly Cooper 3?
You see, that's the true thing of their, like, romance. You see, Penelope, I fell for you when I realized you made the same type of jokes I do on Reddit.
Okay, Murray. We need to get you back in fighting shape.
Did Murray just throw a broccoli on the ground?
Yeah, where did that broccoli come from?
It was disgusting.
Oh yeah, the old muscle memory is
The Murray doesn't eat broccoli.
Oh, come here. Come here, the world needs you. Charge it up. Yes, Lariat.
nobody can withstand
The Duff.
tornado.
Yes.
To perform a thunder block, jump, then press the triangle button down in the
Yo, you're a dangerous man. You.
Oh, Merle.
What a trade.
Well, you better believe I'm going for it every time now.
You'll learn not to fool with the Murray.
Yes. Oh, wait a minute.
Focus.
Kill. Die.
With the Murray.
Destroy.
Down.
The Murray. Collecting bodies like it's pogs.
I need you to know I had the dumbest idea based on the last few conversations we've had. If there was a movie and Murray got to pick who played him in the movie, do you think Murray would get Bone Crusher to play him in the movie?
My knuckles are just getting warmed up.
Bone Crusher. Am I thinking of the correct Bone Crusher?
Big body black man who made that one hit wonder song of Never Scared, cause I ain't never scared, and he was in Def Jam, like Fight for NY.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I
that
do
was the
remember
correct-
this. Yeah,
that was
yeah.
correct. All I know about him is that my friend told me that he walked into the recording booth one day in his underwear, coked out of his mind,
Yep.
and then passed out of the booth.
Yep.
That's how you make a hit.
What's beautiful is he eventually ended up quitting rapping to quitting drugs to take care of his son.
Based.
That's surprisingly heartwarming.
Oh my god.
That's not at all like Viper, who has a song called "You Will Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack."
Exactly.
Yes. No one can keep the Murray down.
Get these bottoms off me at the fur convention.
Well, great!
Everything okay, Murray?
Now it is!
Murray, don't forget to use your throwing ability. Press the circle button to stop near an object, and you will pick it up.
Viper is if Bone Crusher never
Throw the
left.
object. If you press the triangle button instead, you can slam the object down.
Didn't he end up kidnapping someone? Bone Crusher? No.
I think Viper might have. I'm not
Viper
sure.
might have. I believe Viper did.
I think that's true. Yeah.
You know what?
Okay,
You'll do
Sly,
some crazy shit for the crack.
System is down. You're
Mm-hmm.
all clear.
Great. I'm going in.
Sly, how long would you stay here if I don't hit the button to proverbially steal it? Oh, he just does it himself. I didn't even hit the button.
What the?
You didn't really think you were gonna get
Damn, Carmelita, what the damn, what you wearing, girl? Damn.
The ex-girlfriend.
You got dumped that quick.
Funny meeting you here.
Sly
Yeah.
Cooper, you no good lying thief. I'm locking you up for good.
Sorry, gotta take a rain check. I'll call you.
Oh, Mo. Oh, no.
Cooper!
Oh,
For those
no.
of you keeping score at home, this is like the 4th voice actress this character has had.
Correct.
Pass it around and get down here. We're in the van.
I was saying more so, oh, no, because I watched the last VOD of us finishing 3, and I'm still thinking of the fucking meme that we had to keep showing off. of just Sly marrying Carmelita 10 minutes post, and it's just an angry Latina cursing him out in Spanish.
Where are you going?
Just setting up for the jump! Welcome to Air Murray! Thanks for flying!
Nice landing, Murray. Hey, Bentley, not to complain, but we're kind of trapped here.
Relax, Sly. Just put the dagger in the receptacle. Perfect.
Don't
Isotope
say it like that.
calibrated, adjusting fuse-
What's wrong, Dino? I can say it. It's just dagger. Is there an issue with how I speak?
Jump!
Do not slow down, Murray.
I never do!
Sly Cooper leaves in time.
Look, I don't care what anybody said.
Plate fall off.
Great that it fell
what
off,
else
but
can I
also
say about
great
Carmelita?
intro.
As you can see, our relationship is complicated. And I just succeeded in upgrading it to hazardous. I certainly wasn't expecting her to crash the party. She'd been so busy with her latest case, I never thought she'd have her eye on me. In fact, I'd kind of been counting on it. But then, I should have known better than to underestimate Inspector Carmelita Fox.
Did she literally growl at you, dog?
As much as she liked having fun,
Yes.
Carmelita was serious about her police work. And now, I had a lot of explaining to do. But the plan was in motion, and there was no stopping now. Even though I was thinking I'd need the time machine just to patch things up with Carmelita.
That too, dog. No seatbelt.
Before the heist,
No.
we'd recruited our
They
disco-loving
picked all the
scuba
crap.
diving friend, Dimitri Listow.
Yo,
that's my
Dimitri.
Raccoonus. Because it was irreplaceable and the only guide we had, it was far too risky to take the book through time with us. Bentley had even invented a communication device to allow us to contact Dimitri no matter where or when we traveled. It was a perfect situation, since it allowed him to update us on any changes to the book while limiting our exposure to his fashion critiques. Everything was happening so fast.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
The past few days were
That
just
was
a
nice.
blur. But as we howled through the time vortex, I realized we were in for a very long trip.
Dino, would you say I'm big pimping in that hat?
Legally, melanitically, I'm not qualified to answer this question.
Melanitically. It's such a word I was not prepared for.
Ryoichi Cooper was actually the inventor of sushi. After creating this delectable dish, he opened a sushi restaurant, which, while very prosperous, also provided the perfect cover for a ninja. When we got to Japan, it was obvious something was very wrong. What should have been a peaceful village was more like a heavily patrolled military base. We located Ryoichi's sushi restaurant only to find it shut down and under guard. Things got worse when Bentley discovered that Ryoichi was locked up in a new high-security jail, allegedly for serving bad sushi to the shogun. It all sounded like a pretty tough piece of fish to swallow. We needed to get to the bottom of the situation, and the first order of business was getting Ryoichi out of prison.
I'm gonna be real. Sly's puns sound like number 2 from Kids Next Door.
Number 2 and Bentley would get along, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Famously, even. How many nationalities is Sly going to be? All of them.
Damn, we got ThiefNet in like the 1800s or whatever.
You better believe it. Elbow El Dropo combo. You better believe I'm dumping my money into that shit. For free, dog.
I'm a big fan of the like Rambo Bentley on the left.
His Jazz Jackrabbit Sona here.
Yeah, it really is, yeah. Oh, I was supposed to remind you to do something, but I forgot what it was.
Oh, I was supposed to save the game and then fucking turn on asynchronous texture streaming.
I'm really glad that you were able to extrapolate from incomplete data.
Look, I'm kind of not running on all, but I had enough to remember. Okay, 2 seconds, chat room.
What is happening?
I need to change the custom configuration on my totally legitimate PlayStation to activate the asynchronous texture streaming so that the game will not totally break the fuck down and stutter as much. And I need to reshare to the squad here. Yeah, no, all PS3s absolutely have this setting. You're right. Thank you for noticing.
Why, my old grandpappy used to enable this feature all the time on his PS3.
Absolutely. Especially when he had to play Matt Hazard.
Of all the examples you could have used.
Look, that's how you know I'm really about it. Left, right. Oh, this is your treasure.
Yeah. If you don't hop on that ping pong right now.
Out of order.
What do you mean?
I'm not oh, can I play ping pong?
You sure can.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, let's go. All right,
I
square.
did this shit. I played way too much of this when I was playing through this.
Power hit. Fuck. How do you switch sides? How do you switch hands? How do you change sides?
No, Sly's a righty. No, you don't change hands.
Sly Cooper.
Think of it like Breakout. So if you want to hit to the right, you got to get to the left of the ball.
See, the lariat's dangerous because it has too much recovery.
I was gonna say I think Bentley's just cracked, but never mind.
told you though, Sly. I was champion ping ponger.
Sly, I'll cook your shit. You keep trying me, man.
Like Murray not paying attention at all to this.
he's not down for ping pong. He does not care.
Yeah, I've beaten this before. I have this on PS3. I bought this shit like right when it came out.
You want to know
When
how?
I bought it.
Oh no, go ahead. Say again, Deca.
I forget when I bought it, but I think it was like right at the start.
Yeah.
Do you want to know how goofy I am? I've got this shit.
How much is your goof?
I have this shit on the PlayStation Vita.
Oh, a true fan.
Yeah, I remember buying it on PS3, and it was like, oh, by the way, you also have the Vita version, like, for free? And I'm like, that's nice, but I don't have a Vita.
I was mad because I bought the Vita version and I don't get the PS3 version.
I know it doesn't work in reverse. That's fucked up.
That's why I was fucking mad.
I was fucking mad that they like I bought a couple of games on the PlayStation Store for PS3, not realizing they were exclusively for the Vita. I was just like, what the fuck? I lost $30 and now I can't play this game.
Oh yeah, same here. I got tricked into buying Ultimate Marvel on the fucking Vita for that reason, thinking like, oh, it has fucking crossplay. Oh hell yeah, brother! I'm gonna fucking buy this.
Crossplay with the Vita, you mean?
I was so fucking mad, dude. I was so pissed.
Yeah. The only thing that the Vita version of Marvel 3 has that every other version doesn't is a hitbox viewer.
Which
is the only version of the game with hitbox display.
Guess what? As a casual player of Ultimate Marvel, I did not give a singular fuck about that.
Yeah.
The hit spheres.
It's actually better this way because I don't want to see Marvel 3's hitboxes.
Same.
Do not show me the horrors. I do not want to see them.
However, I do remember many a day sitting on a gym-free day, sitting on the floor with my PlayStation Vita playing fucking Ultimate Marvel, bored out of my mind because my homies were in another period and I didn't want to just like sit there bored hoping for a free basketball so I could just shoot hoops bored.
Again with this fucking...
How many people in chat do you think are mad that we're not quote-unquote playing the game and we're just doing table tennis?
No, this is
the entire stream.
The real Sly Cooper starts now.
This is the game, chat room. This is the experience you came here for.
I mean, it's either that or it's go on some kind of goofy ass time travel adventure. Me personally, I'd rather play ping pong.
Same. I am fucking garbage with this power hit. I gotta stop using it. I gotta figure out what it's good for actually first.
It lets you get to the fast part of the rally earlier, pretty much.
But it misses. Like, what's the? I can't tell when to hit, when to swing with it. Like it's got to be like on top of me. I see.
Greatest ping pong game. It's either this or the DS game based on Balls of Fury, the movie.
Yeah, fuck you.
What?
Yeah, no, that's
I know
real.
that sounds fake, but that's really.
Fuck! Jaron Bentley is cooking my shit.
All right, this is like the actual full game of ping pong.
Ah, fuck. All right.
I don't know what you play to, or if it just keeps going forever.
It was 11.
It's 11,
okay.
but it's also tennis rules because you have to have like 2 over the other person if it's a tie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess we could go steal some shit or something. I don't know, man.
Fucking whatever.
Whatever, man. Oh, what the fuck? Hello?
I had a job designing ping pong paddles. / / / /
Forward slash.
After all, it wasn't rocket science.
A patented mic bit. I can't believe it. It's been ages.
Certified banger, my liege.
Gee, thanks for inviting me over. We had a great time.
Okay, immediately met
Roger.
with the go home Roger. Oh, hello? You can
Dude,
fly?
you can fly. You can.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Shut up. Where are the dumb ones, Deca? Shut up. No.
No, you're right. Money. Money.
Peaced.
Me when my ancestry comes back 0.1% Japanese.
You know what? That's a good point, Sly. I should look into mine.
I guess he would have to be though if he's a Cooper and there's a Cooper here.
Yeah. Oh, I still got the down slam. Oh, hold on. Hold on, we've got buttons. I've forgotten. Chat room, I'm foolish. I've forgotten. There's buttons with Sly. Mahjong tile, isn't it? Oh.
Okay, Sly. We need to break Ryuichi out of jail. I have some ideas, but you know the drill. I need you to do some
Not really, Mike.
Camera work?
Correctamundo, Monami. I need some shots of the prison entrance and the samurai armor those big guards are wearing.
Bro said Monami in Japan.
Ryuichi's restaurant. We may need those.
Well, look, I only know certain words from certain
I got you.
Japanese animations, Sly.
Stick with English.
Sayonara, Cooper-san.
Like that.
Can't believe we made it out of Paris in one piece.
One Piece, no way.
Do you think Sly watches all of One Piece, or does he fake it?
I don't think it's possible to watch the whole thing. Like for anybody, I don't think it can be done.
And real ugly too.
I think if you tried to watch it,
Definitely not his best
every
side.
episode, like start to finish, I think the total length would be longer than a human lifespan.
Oh fuck, Sly still can't swim. Shit. You know what? I believe you. Okay,
He's got
so
stone bones.
here's the real question though. Who in the Cooper gang watches One Piece?
Murray.
Yeah.
Murray, mugshot, even though he's not in the gang, but he'd watch
Oh,
it.
he would absolutely watch it start to finish.
He'd watch it, but act like he wouldn't.
Hear me out. Mugshot would watch it, not want to admit that he watches it, assumes Bentley watches it, and then get incredibly angry when he admits that he does not watch it.
That's so specific, but I agree.
He would get incredibly angry. Like, what do you mean you don't watch it?
Something tells me the inside looks even worse. How will I explain this to Carmelita? Time travel? She'll never believe it.
I think you got bigger problems right now, Sly. I'm be honest with you.
Real talk. I don't think you're gonna make it right now, dog. You worried about Carmelita?
That might be the largest gate I've ever seen.
The thief in me just needs to know what's behind it. I think the next time I see Carmelita, I'd better duck first and...
Dude is blind.
You know what? It's just called Sly's just that good of a thief. How do I explain time travel to my Latina ex-girlfriend, Sly? Here's my thing. Why wouldn't you just time travel with Carmelita.
We need.
Oh, I take a picture of it, or of the hat.
Your.
I'm stupid. I'm dumb.
Are we supposed to have lights like this in feudal Japan?
Neon? Yeah,
Did
neon.
we have those?
I don't think so.
I love sushi. Sly, there's some kind of commotion outside the local geisha house. Go check it out and grab some shots too.
Bentley,
Grab some shots of the geisha house, Bentley. Why for?
You know, for the internet forums. I mean, our personal collection.
For research.
For something to remember the heist by, Sly. Stop making me a bad guy. Oh my god, they even got, he even put a fucking, oh my god, is that Tigress from Kung Fu Panda? Oh, that's a man. Is that Tigress from Kung Fu Panda? El Jefe!
El Jefe is such a strong name.
This guy definitely looks out of place. I better get a shot of this guy's ugly mug for Bentley. He should be crawling around a tropical jungle somewhere.
That's probably racist, but I'm not sure how.
I feel like everyone on the Sly Cooper gang says at least something questionably racist every heist.
For overthrowing several small countries.
So, what kind of mess are we in, Bentley?
I don't know, but one thing's certain. My hunch was correct. We aren't the only ones with a time machine.
Why did you jump down onto the ground to do this pose, Sly?
Don't worry about it.
This feels like a very poor choice. You can replay any job using the Van's replay computer. Would you like to go to the jobs replay game? I just did it.
No.
Why do I immediately want to?
Do you want to play through the tutorial again?
Kane SWAT combo?
I think, you know what it is? I think it's the, I think it's there was like a way to get like a gold rank on missions or something. I might be completely confusing this with the different game.
You can do what?
No, wait, hold on. I think I do remember.
I might be confusing this with GTA 5 or something. I have no idea.
I literally have not played this game since 2012.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, same. It's been like well over a decade since I've even seen it.
I've been purposefully not touching this game. When you guys saw the save menu, there's a reason why it had multiple things of turning Japanese as a save, because that's just from me just fucking testing the game to see like, hey, are we ready to stream this yet? I've never played this. Also,
I'm eagerly looking forward to Chapter 2, which is my favorite thing ever.
I was gonna ask if the title "Turning Japanese" is a little insensitive.
Is that the name of a song?
It is, which is very insensitive in its purpose.
Sly, this place is locked down tighter than, well, tighter than something.
Thank you, Bentley.
Thank you. Murray's pants.
Whatever, Sly. This is no laughing matter. I've checked, and there really is no way in except for the front entrance.
It is iffy. Look, the whole thing of the song title "Turning Japanese" is what your face does when you bust a nut.
Is it really?
Yes, that's what the joke is about.
Samurai Sly.
Like
I narrowly, I almost failed a QTE where I said based. I'm telling on myself. I gotta let you know what was going on in my brain at that moment.
You know what? I respect you for it. I respect you for it. I only knew the Avril Lavigne version. Unfortunately, Avril Lavigne. Jesus Christ! Why? I don't know why I had such a tough time saying that name. She was also big during the time where we would still say like, you know, things considered culturally insensitive as well. What happens at Dick's stays at Dick's. You better believe it. What you got, buddy?
Oh, that's a good quality of life. You don't have to wait to go back to the...
What you got? What is this?
Stuff. Oh,
yeah, you don't have to sell the loot. It just like pays out immediately.
It's the thing you need.
I'm getting the fuck out of here, buddy. I'm leaving. Uh-oh. Give me this. Why the fuck is a mahjong title worth more than a kabuki? I don't know. We gotta leave.
Gone like the wind.
I'm glad that they just start you with the glider.
Oh, I've got like a bunch of moves too.
Yeah.
Isn't this a little big for you, Sly?
Just wait, now you just need the leggings.
Legging. Bentley, they don't wear leggings.
Literally, they're
They
not
don't wear
wearing
much of anything, yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck? Why do I need leggings?
I don't think anyone here wears pants except Carmelita.
And that, literally, I don't think anybody in any of the games really like wear full top and bottoms, except like the women characters.
But Sly is clearly not wearing pants.
Sly
Yes,
put on the thigh highs. Oh no.
But yes, as a reminder, chat room, Sly is not wearing any pants. That is literally just his leg fluff.
No, it's the it's like the furry modesty rule of like, you know, when they just add like extra fluff to cover it up.
Oh yeah.
That's how they do the VTuber or like any like cat girl ears or whatever,
Exactly.
where they just put hair in the way so you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
Or you could not do that and then they have 4 ears and it's really strange.
Oh, you dodged that. Oh.
Oh, buddy, be chill, be easy, be cool. Look at the little pig. Oh. So how does this?
Chat room, don't think about how there's like pig people, but pigs. Chat room, don't think about it.
I'm thinking about it.
Don't think about it.
There's different. Those are warthogs.
But what's Murray then?
No, don't worry about it.
He's a hippo.
He is a hippo. You're right. So it'd
be really fucked up if we just had like a Berenstain Bear situation where Murray was actually just a pig this entire time.
Like I'm just sitting here just thinking about it and I'm like, how does that work? Huh.
Don't also realize that there was also a chicken in the background when we faced a chicken in the last game.
Yeah, there was like a big chicken guy in the last game, right?
Who was extremely misogynistic.
I remember that.
She's a woman. She doesn't know up and down.
That shit was crazy, actually. Yeah, and yeah, no, look at these chickens.
Look at them.
Sneak 100.
Oh, how do I cancel the shield?
Cool.
You just let go.
Okay.
And don't forget, you won't be able to use your normal.
Yeah, they'll never know this is actually
I'm the
Fly Cooper.
commander.
Time to try this out. Guard of the first.
The major domo, if you will. Get the fuck out. Oh, you died. Okay.
Domo arigato, fellow soldiers.
I don't know why, but I immediately thought of that fucking stupid ass meme of just like the young girl going like kamikaze banzai Toyota Honda. Just like fucking Sly would do that. He would absolutely do that.
Tsunami.
Yeah, kamikaze tsunami. Like, oh no. Don't speak, Sly. Don't speak. Don't say anything, dude. Mr. Debonair, I don't think your Sly VODs will try up. I only see one episode come up. Not even my time Sly Pooper. Do the others appear?
A little short to be a commander.
Unfortunately, it is very difficult to get the old VODs, and a lot of them have been deleted because of John Twitch.
Major mugshot. Huh? Mugshot? I've never heard of you.
Ha! You dare question me? Son, I've been a guard since you were just a squealing piglet. Wait until I tell the general about this. I hear he loves pork chops.
Wait, I'm very sorry, sir. I didn't recognize you. Please, go right in.
You know what? Same. Real shit. I ain't trying to get in trouble for this fuck ass job. Sure, go on, Sly.
That samurai armor.
Fuck!
Job failed.
I didn't get a
Doesn't take long.
chance. He immediately woke up and was like, "Hey, bro, what's good? What are you doing? Are you immediately gonna tech the?"
Armor should do the trick here.
Yes.
Called it.
You could. Could steal his money though.
It ain't worth it.
Good noises.
Look, I wake up like that too. That noise, I do that every morning.
Ryuichi invented the ninja spire jump. He's awesome.
Dick, I'm gonna need you to pause for a second and look at no.
Wait, what was that?
Yes.
That's some wild shit, bro. Smack
also
in the
one-
mouth, boot to the face machine.
There's one on the opposite side to your right.
Boot to the ass machine. Oh.
He's being tickled. There's also a guard behind you.
No, he's loving it.
Can't escape.
The comedic timing there was so good.
Oh no.
No!
Oh no, the game broke!
No!
The game broke! No!
The game caught you being a creeper.
This is what we deserve.
Oh no, dog, no.
It's fine. This game is for the PS3. It probably auto saves.
There's no way
Probably.
they're sticking me back inside. There's not a chance. ain't no chance. The samurai costume could protect Sly from fire? Oh, fuck.
You might want to put on that
Oh my god!
I told you.
Oh, bless.
That samurai armor should do the trick here.
I hope Sanzaru Games are doing well today.
Don't tell him.
Don't tell him.
Don't
Chet.
tell him.
Don't tell him, Chet.
Don't tell him.
I can't believe they caught Ryoichi. Huh. They must have gotten lucky.
Maybe they didn't get lucky, Sly. Maybe your goat is fucking washed.
Maybe he's an absolute fucking fraud.
If he's actually just racist.
Wait. How do I get in there?
You'll see.
Hey, Ryoichi Cooper, are you okay?
You guards all seem to make very poor jokes.
Come on, I'm not one of those bozos.
I'm not wearing the armor.
I'm here to bust you out. The name's Sly.
Ah, I see. A fellow ninja. Very good. You will
Oh,
need
no.
to make your way to the dragon bridge to reach this cage. Hurry up!
Okay, I'll be there soon. Just stay put.
What?
Very funny.
Why are you doing like a Mickey Rooney speaky English?
Listen, it was like 2006 or whatever.
This was 2013.
This was like 2007 or whatever. We can meet in the middle.
Oh, hey, rats.
Just the beat smack you in the mouth machine, boot in the ass machine.
This is the contraption if I've ever seen it.
This is what Dino places you in when you ask too many questions in his chat. Put you in for hating on games.
I can't believe it. He's a legend.
No, you get in the tickle machine if you hate on games.
Like Sly loudly talking in the fucking guard barracks or the fucking cafeteria or whatever.
Is this a thing or?
Nah. They eating good. They eating their slop.
This is just what I sound like when I'm in the background of your, when I'm in your background tab chat room. That's just what I sound like.
Dude, that's me in the voice call on somebody's stream when they're just yucking it up, and then they're like, isn't that right, Dino? And I'm like, huh? Because I've been laughing like Marvel the whole time.
Oh, okay. Doesn't work. Look, sometimes you just gotta be in the lab. You fall asleep, buddy. Come on.
30-degree viewing angle.
All right, fine. Guards got to see an optometrist. Well, you see, it wasn't cheap to get glasses in feudal Japan.
Sly, that samurai armor is highly unique. I've done some tests, and I'm positive it's fire resistant. Wow.
How would you have done some tests? I've been wearing it the whole time.
Was there ever a point where you brought it back to the hideout?
No.
This is like, how did he test it?
Bentley is just that good, okay? He's super smart.
Well, sometimes I talk a little bit out of my ass, but I know you aren't gonna question me on it. God damn it. He had Murray get a dupe. Why would there
I
be...
mean, I feel like Bentley has definitely made shit up. Because there's like, in the first game, there's like, oh, we need to make a big bowl of gumbo, so you need to kill chickens, but watch out for the chickens with bombs.
Yeah. No.
Run over these piranhas in this river to get oil for your flamethrower. Okay, Bentley, whatever you say, man.
Like how many times do you think Sly's just sat there and thought about, like, no, you're totally full of shit, but I don't have a better plan. Oh, wait, how do I get in there? I want the stuff. Give me the goods. At least 20 times throughout their career. Oh, this is definitely moving away from the goods. I'm gonna have to come back off stream. Oh no.
Is it?
I assume you just need a thing that you don't have yet.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You're going back up.
Well, they let you replay the missions after all.
Ryoichi
Yeah.
Cooper. Amazing. I'm probably his biggest fan.
Why is he fangirling so hard?
Well, he taught him everything he knows, like jumping and hitting the circle button.
The actual joke here is that Sly Cooper was the one that was watching One Piece and is a massive weeaboo.
Oh yeah, Sly would absolutely watch anime, but he would never admit it. Carmelita hates it. Curses him out. In Spanish.
Go back in that room. Hold on.
What? Why?
My sniffer is activating. Go to your left.
You are a fucking genius.
Oh my goodness, the powers of observation.
He doesn't read the manga either, just the anime. Nah, he doesn't have time for reading.
He watches it every time he travels.
Sly, I don't think you can break the lock on that gate. And even if you could, there's no time.
Thanks, Bentley.
I don't think I've ever seen Sly pick a lock, dog.
One of these guards must have the key.
Yeah.
See, that's more
I mean, he
like
needs
it.
help cracking a 3-digit safe.
Yeah, there's no fucking way you're convincing me that this man knows how to pick a lock. I think
But
Carmelita...
we really can't brute force a 3-digit number.
That's what I mean. Like, my man's, he ain't doing it. He ain't about it. He's not about that life at all. Skeleton key? Skeleton key?
Yeah, skeleton. That is not big enough.
No, don't worry about it. What the fuck is that?
Whoops.
Hello, Daddy. Oh no. They're coming to kill me. Oh my god.
Like, you just got here and you've already like disappointed your bloodline.
Bro, why does these things can't shoot worth shit?
Watch out for those dragons.
Oh god. Oh god. Don't worry, Ryoichi, I played Third Strike.
Excellent. Your technique is very good.
Advancing guard.
This Japanese sounding voice actor sounds a lot like the one from fucking One Finger Death Punch.
But like I said, it's a fucking Mickey Rooney speaky English voice, and it's really fucking like,
I do not know you, but only a true Koopa could have reached this cage.
Yeah, I didn't want to alarm you, but my full name is Sly Cooper. I'm your relative from the future.
Do not worry, ninja are never alarmed. With all that has happened here lately, I believe you. Now perhaps you would open the cage so that we may escape certain death.
Right, of course.
see?
That easy.
Mans has never picked a lock in his life. Sly, he bitched you out with your own cane, dog. Oh my god.
He's immediately cooler than you. It's fucked up.
Like fucking frame one.
The only thing he picking is his nose.
Can't believe you, Sly. You're fucking up, bro. Animation, let's go.
I do love the cutscenes in this game.
Ryuichi, we returned to the hideout. Unfortunately, there wasn't much time for family reunions. We needed to figure out what was going on, and fast. Ryuichi confirmed that the source of the trouble was the tiger we had tracked in the village, someone calling himself El Jefe. After some more database digging, Bentley was able to uncover his Interpol file. El Jefe had an impressive record. Over the years, he had taken over dozens of small countries around the globe, usually for the highest bidder. He was a ruthless mercenary and military strategist of the highest order. In fact, he once boasted that he could overthrow a country commanding only 3 blind mice, armed with plastic spoons. According to his file, this guy had mysteriously vanished a while back, just as the authorities were closing in. Well, we had found him, and we needed to take him down.
Merled, why is there so much rice on your face?
So, we decided to start with Ryuichi's sushi shop.
Does he have a car in his garage? Absolutely. ThiefNet has new goodies. Pull it up.
Yes.
No, I don't want a mega charge attack. I'm a basic bitch. I don't want to charge shit.
Look at Ryuichi for a second. He's trying to catch a fly.
He's not very good at it. Yeah, no, he's eating Ryuichi's sushi in the beginning, but it's also like, dog, just put the food in your mouth? Consume it? Look, the man I know as the Murray is a fucking eater. Ladies and gentlemen.
Was that a barrel of toxic waste?
Yes.
This area is now irrepeatably damaged.
They had those all the time back in the day.
You know, you need it for taking over feudal Japan.
That's how Nobunaga won all those wars and whatnot.
That's how he made.
It was the toxic rad barrels, yeah.
That's how he made the Onimusha.
Okay, Sly. It's time for Ryuichi to reclaim his sushi restaurant. It looks like the front door.
If you were an up-and-coming supervillain, you had to get into the Toxic Ooze train. Bro, I'd be Ivan fucking Ooze, bro.
Security is on high alert since we broke him out of jail, and we can't risk raising an alarm. I think this one is going to require some misdirection.
What do you mean?
I bet if you wore that samurai armor you stole, you'd be able to relieve that guard at the front door.
Right. Plus, I just look good in armor.
Please.
I love how goofy this game is.
No one gets
Same.
more out. Understand? I don't want any more problems.
So wait, is El Jefe here too? Where's El Jefe?
No, he left.
But he was just here. He just talked to the guard at the front fucking door.
He's that quick. I also really love the face the guard made. He looked away like it was a dog.
Oh, look at this fat cat!
Oh my god! Went inside the geisha house? No, he was walking away from it.
He was walking away from the sushi house. Oh shit.
Dual
games?
Two?
Okay, Ryuichi. I guess I don't need to tell you about your old place. Quite ingenious of you to use your sushi knives as door keys, by the way.
Bentley-san, I am a ninja master.
Right.
Ryuichi just like, what the fuck is a walkie-talkie?
Anyway, my scan reveals...
Why do you need to talk to me right now?
Why is this talking brick in my... Where does talking brick come from?
Look, I don't have a dork. I'll have you know.
The forest is dense. Water flows through it without effort.
Yeah. Just be careful not to alert the guards. Now get those knives and take your restaurant back.
I was unable to practice my techniques while locked in that cage. Let me recall the leaping dragon technique.
Ryuichi is voiced by Steve Blum. That's Steve fucking Blum.
Hold the R2 button to gather my focus.
The R2 button.
Left stick to direct my energy towards a target.
The R2 button. Do what? I wasn't paying attention. Shit.
I think he says you gotta do it near an enemy. Or at least from above.
Oh.
Oh!
Yeah, he's got like an even cooler spire jump than Sly does, which is really funny because that means he didn't write this shit down in the book. He was saving it for nationals.
What the fuck is this? Commission this piece special. The artist does not have a for affinity anymore.
His full affinity got taken down. I am terribly saddened by this.
First, I will reclaim my knives. Then, I will show El Jefe this shop cannot be closed.
Shouldn't his ancestor be more like a tanuki?
Don't worry about it.
Now you're the one getting racist.
One can only cut sushi properly with a knife this sharp. It appears my knife locks were not sufficient to keep trouble out. I must move this.
Sly's gotta brave the dark bolts of E621. He's only there to make sure y'all ain't doing nothing with the Carmelita.
I think he might be there only for Carmelita.
No, I know my hands, my descendant. He only does it to commission. He does not go to the site. Remember, chat room, one laifu for laifu. I don't like that he does the stereotypical. Yeah, I don't like that. Laser traps in feudal Japan. Look, they brought it back. It's almost like you gotta guess who's back, chat room. Back again.
I like that you're going out of your way to break all the plates.
You better believe
in
it.
your own fucking restaurant.
Claim them an insurance.
It is fine. I can just say these soldiers broke them. It'll be easy.
This is my finest knife. Sashimi will be perfect.
All right, Ryuichi. Only one more knife to go.
God, he's got kind of a villain laugh when he opens the door. You hear him? Yeah. Slide.
It's kind of funny that Bentley's like backseating him on his own restaurant.
Why is it shaking like this? What the fuck?
I think those only stay up for a little bit.
No, it's fine. Ah, shit!
It was not fine, Gyro.
I really must clear these vermin from my restaurant.
Can he say that?
First, I will reclaim my knives.
You know what?
Then I will show Pepe.
Do you think he would be kind of like the master from like Kill Bill, who's like extra racist?
I guess when it's a game where everyone is a funny cartoon animal, it'd be hard to. Everything's probably gonna sound a little racist.
Yeah.
The only thing that you could say that definitely won't is like, oh, look at this guy. He's a dummy. He's stupid. He's a big poo-poo dummy head. Because if you're up against like a pig and you say anything about how much of a pig he is, it sounds racist.
I mean, I wasn't gonna call out earlier of fucking in-universe racism of Sly towards his own best friend of being like, damn, too slow, turtle.
True, yeah.
Like dead ass, like, bro, what the fuck? That's gotta be a slur to him.
This is a disaster now that I think about it.
That's gotta be a slur against turtles, bro. You can't say that shit. Is Bentley faster with or without his wheelchair? I don't know.
That's even worse.
I don't know. Because, like, I remember he had, like, the sprint in 2, but he gets, like, a turbo boost in fucking Sly 3 with the wheelchair. You have a lot of money already? I don't have the big bucks. I need millions.
Okay, now turn on your restaurant sign and send El Jefe a message.
One day, I will bring greatness to this shop again.
Don't say that.
He didn't know. It's 2013.
True, but...
Pull the lever, Kronk. What the fuck? Is this just for the sign? What the fuck?
This is the self-destruct button.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
No, that's me.
Creepy ass sign.
I'd be the same way as the fucking Borman. I saw that shit going fucking nuts like, oh! This shit's losing his fucking mind, dude.
That's an impressive octave you just reached.
Thank you. El Drapo! Jesus Christ, Silent Obliteration is a crazy fucking name, dude.
Oh, yeah, because when you do the like stealth slam, it makes noise, but this is like a true stealth kill that doesn't make noise.
Oh, we're in. I'm getting that. All right, you guys, which should we do? Are we back with Ryoichi, or is it time for the world?
Well, look at how excited he is.
You're right.
Now that you've hovered over him.
Look, he's in two modes that I think we can all agree here on the couch. Either I am dead as fuck or I am ready to go. Hip Hopopotamus? I remember.
That's right, they call me the Hip Hopopotamus. My lyrics are bottomless.
Oh, what was that fucking combo? I've got Charging Star. Yo, can I? Oh, you better fucking believe we killing. Death. Ooze the man.
Murray has my favorite means of extracting money from goons. Where you pick them up and you just shake it out of them.
I was gonna do it.
That also works.
I was going to pick him up and shake him, but I was not allowed. He died.
Which reminds me, Dick, you need to play Wario Land Shake It.
I still have to do fucking Wario World in general. I made edits for it, remember?
The treasure game?
Yes.
Yes.
That game rules.
Gonna be real, I forgot you made edits. I forgot you were intending to play that.
It's been sitting in the folder of edits for ages, and I'm just been forgetful. Do the stomp near an enemy. I think they have to be stunned.
Yeah, you have to like knock them down first, and then you can stomp them.
Wait, I want to get them. Ah! I tried.
It's been a long time since we went fishing, Bentley. I'm excited.
Well, this is no vacation, Murray. We need to help Ryoichi get back on track as a sushi chef. And what he needs most right now is fish. We're here because these caves are his secret spot for catching the best fish. Unfortunately, judging from this security lock, it looks like El Jefe's been here.
Okay, I'm gonna be real. I got PTSD fear of like the PS2 fishing game from fucking Jack and Daxter 1.
We'll be fishing in no time.
I don't remember that.
That's the one where the fish swim downstream and you have to catch them in an oh my god!
Oh my god! Halt all thoughts, we have Rambo!
It's the shmup stage.
Oh, why does it make a noise like that?
This is a remix from Sly 1. This is the only Bentley mission in Sly 1's theme song.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ion bits to level up. Of course, by combining multiple ionic particles, I can supercharge my attack. But
what?
Damage will drop my valence level.
It's get 5 upgrades and now you get a better shoot.
I don't like it sped up. I don't like the noise.
These nanobots are swarming. I better blast them or stay out of their way.
Oh,
this
God.
is exactly how hacking works in real life.
Absolutely.
This is how he got into Interpol.
Those nano cannons are no joke. Too many hits and I'll crash.
Crash the system.
Crash out.
we got split shot. Let's go.
Split shot and a bullet eater.
No, hold on, Bentley. I want all of it. Greed consumes me. Fuck.
Oh yeah, Daddy's got a brand new bag of charged atomic particles.
Please don't ever call yourself daddy again, Bentley. I'm not even doing the bit for that one. That's horrid. That's terrifying.
Yikes, that CPU is overclocked. I need to take it out before it reboots.
The CPU is overclocked. It's like I'm watching an episode of CSI the way they're fucking techno babbling me.
That did more damage than anything combined.
Bentley just be saying shit, bro, just saying shit. So what, you gonna call me on it? Don't drop the pizza, you dropped them pizza! Merle.
Org. No, frogs!
Why'd you lose your belt, dog? Oh, I wanted that. I punched it earlier and broke the shit out of it.
Okay, Murray, we need to find the secret fishing hole.
What is this
Let's
like?
try that gate over there.
What is this
Think
like
you can open
floating
it?
keyboard?
No problem, chum. Fresh fish coming up.
My man is a hacker from the movie Hackers. Are these the Hypno Toads from fucking Futurama? Look at them.
Kinda, yeah.
I'm trying
Can
to.
you squish them?
I cannot intentionally step on them. I do like the little skinks, the little lizards. Look at them.
I just realized I forgot to do something.
No worries, Chief.
That something is to at my server that I'm here.
I appreciate it. Why does this look like a trap?
No, don't worry about it.
I can't now. I punched it.
Hold up, Murray. Those mammoth lightning bugs will give you a nasty shock. Lucky for us, that large plant is a giant lamp leaf.
Ah.
Hitting it will make it glow and attract the bugs. Give it a whack and get those things out of our way.
Oh,
Well, that's convenient.
you know how much I like to hit stuff.
Oh, Merle. Why do you have that, Merle?
Just heaving at the thought of broccoli.
Look, I don't blame Murray. Like, improperly cooked broccoli, that shit stink.
Where did he even pull that out of?
I don't know. He had a cheeseburger earlier. Why does Murray radiate he fucks kind of guy? I'm sorry, was that question rhetorical? Dino, Deca, back me up here. That had to be rhetorical, right?
Yeah.
I was yapping on Discord. What was the question?
Why does Murray radiate he fucks kind of guy? It's got to be a rhetorical question.
Be careful jumping on those lily pads, Murray.
I'm not entirely
This is
sure
one
Murray knows
situation
what sex
where
is,
your muscle
though.
mass may be problematic.
I'm certain he knows what it is, and he has zero interest in it whatsoever. He cares more about food.
Either that or he knows what it is, but completely gets it wrong.
No, I didn't punch it. Ah, I didn't want to punch the little guy.
You fool.
He was in the way. Murray and Goofy radiate the same he fucks kind of energy. Yeah, no, I see it. Wait, am I supposed to... Murray doesn't know what sex is, but still has it. Correct.
Let's hurry. The fish should be biting right now.
Oh.
This game is very pretty, but it hasn't struck me until just now in this dang ass cave.
Why specifically here?
I don't know. It's just something about it. It's very appealing.
I will admit it does manage to like be a dark cavernous area, but there's still this sense of color.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what am I doing?
Hell yeah, brother. Tilt that controller.
This is the fucking sign. This is the time.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I gotta turn it on. Hold on.
To coincide with the fish's own bioelectric fields.
This isn't the only thing. There's some Bentley hacking games that also require this.
Animal magnetism. I just need to tilt
Shut,
like this.
shut up, fucking Bentley.
I was about to say, in theory, you could just wait for them to come to you, but now that they've added a timer, I guess not.
Oh fuck. Hold on. I have to like configure my fucking controller to support the motion control. I was not ready, as you can clearly tell. Let's see. I forgot how to do it. I think I set it to... No. Oh, I can't do it while the game is running. Oh no. If I pause the playback, can I then configure it?
I'm just gonna say it. I think a fishing rod might be more effective.
You know, if I had one, I'd hook it up.
It just feels like we're overcomplicating this fishing thing with this magnet.
No, Sony said that we had to use the 6-axis.
They're going to beat our asses if we do not use the 6-axis motion controls in some way.
Your government mandated 6-axis minigame.
Look what they did to Little Big Planet 2. They tore their ass open and made them use the motion controller.
Where is it? It worked for Lair. Don't say that. We don't have to beat on Lair. They didn't do anything. Fuck. Is it still not letting me work it? Oh no.
Honestly, you might get lucky with the fish just crossing the path.
RPCS3 setup motion controls. Help controller configuration. Da 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 da. Next input, controller handle, You know what? What if I just cop out and I just plug in the PS5 controller? That way we don't waste a ton of time.
Does that have that?
Oh, you better believe. Give me 5 seconds.
I actually didn't know that because I don't have a PS5.
I mean, I didn't believe they were gonna get rid of it.
When I streamed The Bouncer like 1,000 years ago, I had to grab my actual PS3 controller and then figure out how to configure it because it used the pressure-sensitive face buttons.
Okay.
The PS3 controller had analog buttons?
Yes.
What?
I think you needed it for like the Metal Gear collection or whatever.
You better. Yup. Correct. Okay. DualSense. What the fuck? Oh my god, the fucking the fucking duty. No. Hey guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny?
What's funny?
I noticed that your audio was different for a second.
Yeah, you want to know what happened?
Don't tell me it's capturing to the fucking controller.
Oh, you better fucking believe, baby.
Let's go.
I fucking hate this stupid shit.
That's awesome.
I plugged in the PS5 controller and immediately it was like, oh, so you want all the audio and everything to go through this fucking PS5 controller, right, dog?
Absolutely. Why'd you even ask?
Dude, can you rig it so that your voice comes out of a Wiimote? I would love to stream some like Wii games, but the whole time it sounds like it's coming through the shitty ass like Wii microphone.
Like a physical Wiimote? Yeah, I've seen people do that.
That would be sick.
Okay, if I press and hold the start button to resume.
I'm constantly workshopping ways to make my own stream worse.
Look, that's a hilarious bit.
Yeah, that big-eyed
Hey, there you go.
Yes, a perfect speckled cave nipper.
A what?
I didn't say it.
Speckled?
I didn't say it. You can't cancel me on Twitter.
A perfect speckled cane nipper.
Cave nipper.
It looks like all the other fish.
No. I know what I'm saying. I refuse to be canceled on Twitter for this.
Rats.
You failed.
Looks like I'll have to try again with the next school of fish.
Why though?
I like that you were arrested for that.
That's right. Come to Pop.
There's a guard behind you, just like, damn, you failed that one.
Yeah, otherwise he would have let you go.
Damn, good fishing, son.
I mean, this is technically the goddamn fishing minigame from Jack 1.
Sweet jujubes! It's a rare giant ball.
Why did you say what? Sweet what?
Yes, a superb striped.
Why are you saying words like this, Bentley? I can't defend you, bro.
He's just making shit up.
You're just saying shit.
Yep, a beautiful largemouth horse face.
You can't say that.
You can't be out here, bro. We can't. I'm not defending you on Twitter.
Okay, Murray, take that fish to the cart.
All right, you got it.
Shoot, I need some more fish.
Do we? What we need more fish for? Okay. Well.
Oh no. Dick.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Look.
Okay, Murray, take that fish to the cart.
There's a lesson in here somewhere.
All right, it's okay.
There's a lesson in here somewhere.
God knows I refuse to listen to it.
Take that fish to the cart. Murray, you won't be able to activate that plan while holding the fish. Try throwing them into that old cart. You can pick them up again after you get rid of those lightning bugs.
What cart?
What cart? Okay.
Oh.
Man, fuck these fish smashes barrel. No, that's fine. I'm gaming, bro. First time, it was a fluke. Wait, where do I put this?
Other side.
Can I hit that from here? Oh, I can.
Yeah.
I forget, why are the fish important? We need it for Ryuichi's sushi house.
Why?
Uh-oh. I got a little scared when I saw it get punched.
Oh, little newts.
I need you to know I almost pressed the wrong button. I had to think. I had to think.
Do you think Ryoichi will make us some sushi as a reward?
I'm not sure, but let's just get this fish back to him without El Jefe's goons turning us into sashimi.
Never fear, Bentley. Nobody makes a hippo roll out of the Murray.
What do you mean, make us some sushi? You don't cook the fish.
Gotta prepare it though.
He ain't thinking about it. He ain't thinking. He ain't thinking.
Yes.
You could just eat the fish and save some steps.
It is just raw
True.
fish. The Looty Shake. There we go. Triple the coins per shake.
That seems really good, actually.
My man Merle said, "Shake that shit for
Wait,
a real
so
one."
Murray makes more money than the other ones?
Yes.
Hell yeah, brother.
I don't remember that at all. That's really funny though.
Did he say himbo roll or himbo roll? Yes.
Yeah.
Himbopotamus. Don't worry, chat room. Off stream, I'll come back and get all the clue bottles.
I don't remember if they. My brain is telling me that they're just cosmetics.
They're not important in this one, as I recall.
Okay.
They're not. Oh, don't say that.
I mean,
Boris.
they might. I mean, there's a chance that they give you like a move or something, but I don't remember needing them at any point.
I believe most of them gave you costumes.
That sounds right.
Doesn't know it yet. The bad news is, it looks like the geisha house is locked up tight. There's no way to get in from the street. If only you could get to the roof.
Ah, for a ninja, there is always a way.
Okay.
Talk to you inside, Bentley-san.
Hey, Ryuichi, I gotta know. Are all the geishas like men? Cause I'm just asking, you know. I've read that somewhere online.
What is this online you speak of?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. How about you lend me a few yen, buddy? Oh, look at the mamma rambers on her.
Damn! Yes, please. A little weird that it's a human face on a
geisha house,
game.
yeah.
That does seem strange now that you mention it.
Yeah, do humans exist at all? They can't, right?
This could be like 3 billion years in the future, where animals just take over and somehow had an exact copy of our history.
Of course. Does a cat alert the rats?
Right. Okay. We can get in through the top, but judging from the lock mechanism, it appears to be open remotely. I'm going to need you to locate and activate...
Dina was correct about the masks from earlier in the stream. They're just cosmetic, but the clue bottle safes do give you items, so clue bottles aren't entirely pointless. Gotcha.
And a whole load of traps, so be careful.
Yeah, I remember the masks they give you like parachute designs or whatever.
That's right, the masks were the things that gave cosmetics.
God damn!
Damn!
The women's! Hey, Ryuichi, can you steal me a wall scroll, brother? Oh, boy! Wow! Also, the idea of flesh sonas in a world full of furries is absolutely terrifying, but hilarious.
These traps are almost too easy for a ninja.
For a ninja.
This one looks terrifying. I'm gonna be real.
That's Halle Berry in Catwoman, but I can't explain why. Do you agree, though?
I understand. I would also accept Angelina Jolie. Gotta make your flesh suit. No. No.
No.
Oh, fuck me. That was really close. That was really fucking close. I didn't put together what that was gonna be. These are the cut designs from when Kung Fu Panda was R-rated. Horrifying. Terrifying. You can't be stringing words together in this way.
Despite this, Jack Black was every single one of those characters.
Oh, and he loved it. He actually wore drag in the booth. Hell yeah.
Dino, I'm starting to remember what the second world might be and why it might be your favorite.
Wait, what?
I will not. Oh.
I can't alert a guard? What the fuck? I was gonna kill him. Jack Black did all the mocap. Give me that. Give me the loot.
Porg. What the fuck?
What the fuck is happening in here? Dog.
Ah, yes, the sumo squasher.
It's the dick flattening room. The dick flattening and electroshock kink.
I'm terrified what Lucy's saying, give me that too. I'm terrified over the multiple sentences we've uttered over the last few minutes. I'm terrified to what she could be saying, give me that too. I go it's in quotes, but I'm just fucking I'm just terrified. I was parroting you saying no.
Yeah, how does it feel to get Uno reversed?
It hurts. Harm. Pardon?
Jump and hit the circle button just fucking fails to work sometimes.
Just what the actual fuck? Excuse me?
I saw you do the spire jump and the game's just like, nope.
Nah, dog, you're into the drink. Fuck you.
Okay, Ryuichi, log me into that terminal and I'll...
Shut up.
I don't care. Shut up.
Stop talking.
Time to try out my new
Hell yeah, time to
Oh
tilt.
no, bro!
through the circuit before
Yes, sir.
that timer runs out. Good thing I programmed the guidance system to use my motion sensor. I just need to tilt in the direction.
Oh, I want these. Oh, okay.
That's extra time, yeah.
Oh, it's not great. Will you
Kirby
all
Air Ride.
in chat and at home believe me if I tell you that it is not great?
Well, if it's any consolation, I played this on real hardware, and it didn't feel great on that either.
I believe you. I'm technically using real hardware now with the PS5 controller.
There's the central port. Gotta get there before the system shuts down.
Played this game so I know it's shit. I don't know about you, but I've been enjoying this game so far.
Yeah, I got no beef with this game. This was actually probably one of my favorite ones.
I remember people not liking this game. But then again, people hated 3.
The thing that a lot of people don't like about this one is the plot, but I don't give two shits about the plot in any game.
You know what?
That makes even less sense to me, because this plot is actually
motherfucker
pretty alright.
Yeah, no, the tilt controls, it does not work very well, that's true.
No, it feels very unresponsive, which is the problem. Like I am implying a direction in which I'm pushing.
Now to unlock that geisha outfit for Murray-san.
Oh, Murray's gonna be the one in drag. I see. Good bit. Classic Disney bit.
Target acquired. Agent Hawk going in.
Wait, why did I have to get up here?
Murray-san, please be careful. That cable looks rather delicate.
Have no fear. The Murray is here.
Good bit.
Okay, Murray. It looks like we're going to have to try out your disguise a bit earlier.
I don't know how to tell you this, Dick.
I hope you remember the routine.
This is a rhythm game.
This is a
rhythm game.
Good luck.
Konnichiwa! I am the most famous Madam Geisha. Please allow me to entertain you.
You know what? This is me on my own stream. You know what? I'm gonna lock the fuck in right now. The drag, me appealing to the boys, you all throwing me roses on stage. This shit's gonna be easy as fuck. Check this shit right now.
Yeah?
No, I just gotta feel the rhythm. It's okay. Why are they flashing like that? Actually, looking at the trail kind of hurts my eyes. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
My man has unbelievable thirst.
They don't even notice Ryuichi there anymore.
Me absolutely shaking my ass for chat.
He's dead. Oh my god, I completely forgot about this part.
Now it's in. We're locked. Where you get that stack of paper?
He's trying to fly.
He's into it too. Did you see it?
Yeah, he is. It's like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, he's kind of good at it. Hold on, he's locking in. Fuck.
What were we doing again? I literally don't remember.
Shaking ass for that cash.
This, right?
Is that why we were here? To give money?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely this.
I genuinely don't remember the objectives.
Look, Merle and I have the same goal in mind. If we're gonna make this partner push, you gotta shake a little ass. Chat room for the Twitch partner push. I'll do something strange for some piece of change. My boys. This is the path to the Ryuichi romance scene. He's still in it.
Still wearing it.
All right, it's time to go out as Bentley. Oh boy, I can't wait to get my Twitch account back. I couldn't even finish the joke. I couldn't even finish the joke, chat room. I couldn't even finish the joke. This reminds me of the scene from a certain anime where a guy cross-dressed and found out it was a guy, and his reaction was, "This was even better." That feels like 8 million anime. I need you to be less specific.
That is the ocean you have described.
The empty buttons? Now that it's over and it won't be explained, when the buttons flash really large, they were to get extra cash. They were literally going to shower you with coins. Beautiful.
Okay, according to my calculations, this is the optimal location to launch the RC car. With the microphone I installed, it should be a snap to follow El Jefe and see what he's up to.
He's talking directly to the camera.
Looks like he's headed for the prison.
So we can agree that like Bentley's favorite show would be like The Fucking Office or something, right?
Yeah.
Time to track that tiger.
Oh, what the fuck?
He's a trend show walker. So right now his favorite would probably be Severance.
Time to track that tiger. Murray's old chicken hat is going to come in handy too. I just need to remember to.
He watches How I Met Your Mother to completion and enjoyed the ending. Bentley watches Big Bang Theory but hates Young Sheldon because it reminds him of him. I miss you, my tier 3 sub queen. Sounds about white is the correct answer to all of our jokes about Bentley.
True.
Even this magnificent prison pays.
El Jefe is Nolan North?
Statue Fortress.
New statue fortress.
I hear it actually, yeah.
Where he's hiding out all the time.
Nobody would guess the Palace Gate switch is actually under the bridge.
You're messing with the wrong turtle, buddy.
Yeah, no, I hear it.
I don't hear it.
No, I totally hear Nolan. I hear Nathan Drake all day. Fuck! Nolan North, the Rocket Raccoon. No, I don't want to shoot the rat. No! Please tell me there's like a fucking... Oh, there is a boost.
Speed run.
Well, there's a thing up there on that building. Wow.
I'm on a time. I'm on the clock. Thank you for not making I am a cock joke when I wear the chicken hat. Thank you.
Ah, fishing caves. Good thing I sealed them. My dragon gates are invincible, as long as that lazy guard doesn't get distracted by sushi.
Very interesting. I think we can probably help that guard out.
Even if those fools get to the dragon gates, they'll never figure out the switches are inside the dragon mouths.
Ah, I see. I was supposed to do this.
Excellent. Keep flapping those big lips, sucker.
I was supposed to have done this beforehand. I understand. Is that a little racist? Oh, fuck.
Itty bitty mighty mo. Like speciest.
So here's the thing. I'm conflating species with race.
You know what, fair, yeah. Then yes.
Especially in the world of Sly Cooper with everyone being an animal. I love how every time we've asked that, you've instantly gotten caught.
Now
It's almost like you shouldn't be racist.
So I can deliver the package.
They had a chicken in Sly 3 named General Sow.
Correct.
Yeah, it's like the bar is pretty low.
It's subterranean.
They do say that the juice of the lowest hanging fruit is the sweetest.
Konnichiwa, Hefe-san. Greetings, Madam Geisha.
You kiss on this a little too long.
Everybody wants to fuck Murray.
Damn.
What did I say? They fucking.
He's just back.
Murray, how did you get back here so quick?
He looks kind of tuckered out.
Yeah, you know what? It's better we don't ask.
Wait, we're broke as hell. We can't afford these
can't afford
moves.
shit. The back of the dress is a little wet. He just sat on something. It's okay. You remember back in school when you used to sit in the unfortunate part of the bench, the bleachers, and it's a little wet? He just sat on the wrong part of the bench. It's okay. Don't question it. It's all fine. It's fine. It's embarrassing. What did he sit on, Dick? So you know how like you sit on like, there's probably a lot of food in there. The Madame Geisha is literally eating like a chicken leg in the image. So I'm a little cream filled, you know. Thank you all ever so much for watching.
Masterful segue.
I got raided here. Went to take my puppies outside and came back to a tiger fucking a hippo. I think I'm gonna stay a while. Thank you.
That shit was worth 200.
We need those. I'm broke. It ain't even a joke, Dino. I'm broke as fuck. I ain't got shit. I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm hungry. We starving here.
Okay, Ryuichi, we need to collect samples from those strange plants growing high on the cave walls. Commonly known as the spiky wall climber, it secretes a mild toxin we can use to make sushi rolls that will put any guard to sleep instantly. Just be careful not to be overcome yourself.
Oh, okay.
Bentley, son, did I not explain?
You're a ninja master. I know.
Hey? No. Allow me to show you how it's done.
Well, now at least I know where Sly gets it from.
If Bentley's plan works, we can rid our land of this villainous tiger.
I just checked how long to beat in this game is at least twice as long as I expected. Oh yeah.
That sounds about right.
It depends on how much you're trying to do. If you're just like crit pathing the missions, it won't be that bad.
I mean,
if you're looking for clues, it's gonna take like 1,000 hours.
Oh, and I'm doing that off stream even.
The clues, because the maps in this game are enormous. I'm sure you've noticed.
Yes.
So like the clues are harder than ever to find.
And this one's like the smallest.
Yeah, because I fucking remember doing Sly 3 and just being amazed how fucking ridiculously huge those maps were.
Mm-hmm.
We just sell the grenades. Yeah, no, there's no... Oh, okay. There's no fucking... Hey, we need to do blank anymore. Sell it on ThiefNet. You just get the cash instantly now.
Quality of life, baby.
I must strike the blossom to extract the poison.
Blech.
I don't think this is how sushi works.
You know what? He's fine. It's fine.
Will topple even the largest enemy. This poison will make those guards sleep like
killed. Oh fuck.
I love the idea that we would go to all this trouble to tranquilize a guard where we could probably kill him way easier.
No, what do you mean?
Like the Cooper gang literally stealth kills people all the time.
No, that's non-canon. What are you talking about?
Traps can stop a ninja. I must strike the blossom to extract the poison.
There we go. 2-2, baby. Much like Kiryu, the Cooper gang don't kill. Fuck that.
I see the joke.
No, I also know the joke. I've played a handful of Yakuza games.
Kiryu don't kill. Cut to him smashing a dude's face against a wall.
Well, Kiryu didn't kill him. The wall did that.
Exactly.
You know what? You're right.
A man who has the power of the tiger drop, which negates all damage, why would he need to kill? It's non-lethal as Batman. See, you get it.
I don't know. I've seen some of those Arkham games. He be beating the shit out of dudes. I'm to believe that none of them died.
Yes.
I've seen mods that make your cape combo go longer and literally, so you could just be beating on dudes even longer and harder. And it's just the joke of like, yeah, I totally believe you didn't kill him, sure. Help? What?
All right.
Okay.
All right, we have all the intel we need. El Jefe has played
Whoa,
dictator for the last time,
future.
and it's time to bring him down.
I can't believe
Just like NCIS.
I was gonna be like, I can't believe Bentley's a fucking Apple dev coder.
Sly, you'll need to gain access to the switches in their mouths. Next, we'll need to open the palace sword gate.
Do you think Bentley would buy
However, the bridge is crawling with guards, so we'll
Apple
need to
goggles?
create a diversion.
Yes.
Murray, you
Without a
Sly,
doubt.
and myself will need to distract the guards.
What are you
Once
talking
they're
about? I
occupied,
fucking bought
we
the
need
snap
to make his
glasses.
way under the bridge to the switch and open the gate. Once we get that gate open, there's nothing stopping us from taking the palace and putting El Jefe in his place. Viva la revolucion!
Why do you
No,
keep
I don't
wanting
think that
to?
works. I don't think that works here in Japan, Bentley.
Do you think Bentley's into Gen AI now for a heist? Yes. Bentley is.
He probably used it. He probably used it for the missions in 2.
That makes a lot of sense.
Bentley's using Gen AI to steal from the investors.
Okay, Sly. Use those rollers to open the dragon valve.
Oh my god!
Somewhere inside.
He got put into the dimension.
Something tells me those
I
things
could
are
imagine
bad road.
Bentley like going back in time to see what stocks are gonna pop in the future and then going back to the present and investing.
Oh yeah. Bentley 500% would use future. He would Biff Tannen the fucking thing.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
Fuck, I would too.
I have to admit, I probably also would. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a really good plan.
Bentley would just read about Gen AI and be like, wait, I don't even need to do anything for money anymore. Ah! It reminds me of the one interaction from the new Sonic racing game where Vector asks Silver about bets so he can cheat since Silver is from the future. Good bit.
Yeah, that sounds like Vector.
Look, he needs money to pay rent, dude. Don't we all? Merle, why are you still wearing the geisha outfit?
He feels good. He feels good wearing it. Lay off.
Look at us, the squad!
End of the line, Cooper!
Yep, there it is.
Get them, you fools!
Like, tell me you don't hear the Nolan North now.
I can always tell if it's Noel Noah because he sounds exactly like Nathan when he screams.
Time to kick some butt!
My favorite time of the day!
I mean, he is a ninja. He's not gonna fight direct.
Let's do this.
It's the mother of all omelets, Dickless. Kill. Slammeride is what they call me online. Come here, bitch. Murder. Give me that money, bitch.
An egg?
I need the paper. Don't call my man an egg. He just likes the way it feels.
He could just be really into drag. You never know.
An egg?
Yes.
As in like a trans thing of like, oh, he's gonna find out he enjoys being a woman.
Oh, there's a term for that.
Yes.
It's happened enough that people had to come up with a term.
Listen, I don't got internet.
I don't blame you. Sometimes I wish I didn't have internet too. And by sometimes I mean most times.
Being terminally online for 5 years is really proven to be a disease.
It's not worth it. Back to PS1 RPGs with book-thick strategy, guys. I would gladly go back to the days of a Prima strategy guide.
Not the Final Fantasy IX one, but any of the other ones.
Any of the other ones, yeah. No, I actually remember owning the Final Fantasy IX one.
Final Fantasy IX is the funniest strategy guide of all time because it says, go to this website for more information. It's like, all right, thanks, man. Glad I bought this
Thanks,
book.
bro. I'm so happy I gave you $35. Reminds me when y'all were reading the Knuckles comics and Stein said Sabrina helped crack many eggs with how many trans women event with identify with Sabrina. Correct. Oh shit.
It's mine.
Yeet.
My cane!
How'd you immediately get fucked over like that, bro? I thought you were a ninja. Oh my god.
Sorry, Cooper. You lose. I need to deliver this puny stick to a new owner.
No! El Jefe's getting away!
Don't worry, Ryuichi. Watch after these two. I'm gonna kick some tiger tail and get your cane back.
Excuse me, why do I need watching over?
It's a good question.
I had a giant FF9 book that was filled with information was so difficult to read it for fun. You know what? One of these days I should play Final Fantasy IX again. I played it literally once in my spare time and that was it.
I think the thickest strategy guide I've ever had was probably Oblivion. That one was pretty fucking thick.
Oh.
It was a whole ass bibble.
You want to know one that's you wouldn't imagine would be thick, but was also stupid for me to own?
What?
Two Worlds for the 360.
Oh.
Don't play Two Worlds, chat room.
I'm going to play Two Worlds.
that game is booty butt cheeks. That game is ass.
My favorite thing about that game is there's an NPC who goes, warriors, hard ones.
That game is ass, bro.
Looks like a real pigeon magnet.
I will be
That's the
streaming
first quest.
Chat room, I'm promising you a Two Worlds stream.
Like a pigeon, Cooper. Otherwise, you'll never catch me.
What was that hand sign he was doing right there? What?
We'll see about that.
He was being wings.
Why was he doing that?
Wings.
What the fuck is he building?
That's a
good face, good face, good face.
Cooper, almost as handsome as the real thing.
Huh. Yeah, looks almost big enough to contain your overinflated ego.
Take a nice long look. I want you to remember the one who crushed you.
Looks to me like you've got nowhere left to run, El Jefe. Ready to face me now?
Sticking up for the family, eh, Cooper? Too bad you'll never see any of them again. Oh, Cooper, you've climbed so high, and now
Come on, say it, you'll fall.
gonna fall.
There you go.
But he read the script. I can't believe it.
I can't. What's this next to me, chat room? Is this the script?
Gotta dodge these fireballs and get close.
Welcome to your doom, Cooper. Bring it on, Cooper.
Bro, I just got here. What are you doing? Does he have fire powers because he's orange? No, it's because his favorite Mega Man boss is Flame Hineyard. What the fuck?
You got cheated.
He did not like that Flame Hineyard joke.
I don't think sneaking's gonna work here, Sly.
Yeah, what are you doing, dog? He knows you.
Know something, Cooper? You're actually starting to annoy me.
Oh, don't worry. I have that effect on all cowardly crime lords. El Jefe. Isn't that Spanish for big baby?
Ah! Enough of these stupid games.
Why did I actually get you, bro? Why did I get you?
He's a child.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? I don't remember this.
I'm pretty sure you only need the armor for fire attacks.
You cannot approach.
So much damage.
Oh my god. What the fuck?
Yeah, specifically, you're waiting for like you're waiting for a fireball to bounce back at him. I think
that makes sense.
Also, I must point out that his portrait has the cigar,
and it is smoking. That's actually very good. Okay, I'm very bad at these reads. I am clearly awful at these reads.
Well, after this, he does the like sweep that you have to jump, right?
Oh, I can't jump in the armor. Gotcha.
And then after you jump over that, then he shoots the fireball.
I see. I get the picture. Oh, that counted. Get in there.
Good.
Wait.
Holy active frames.
Not so tough. Are you, El Jefe?
I ain't even jumping your shit. Fuck you. I'll jump it a little bit though. Are you gonna spin it more than once? No. Oh, thanks, buddy.
Oh, how convenient.
For such a tough guy.
So if you try to hit jump too quick out of the run, Sly just will not jump. You're a big dumb.
I gotta say, you're actually so brave for having that clip command.
I am more than happy to let chat room call me out on being a fucking dumb baby.
If I ate shit in a video game and somebody immediately posted like exclamation point clip, that it might break me. I gotta say, this is some tremendous bravery on display. I would not survive this.
I'm too dumb to do otherwise, is the call. It's amusing that we have to fight Deadpool. It's not a low-hanging fruit. Oh shit, he swung again!
I bet there's like speed tech to one cycle this.
I believe it. Or at least I would believe it. All right, swing. Put out another one. Coward! I was ready for it this time, pussy! Thank you for coming by the stream. Low-hanging jokes are welcome.
I heard that they're most delicious.
Simply the most water has collected in the lowest hanging one. Can I get that health pickup?
Cooper, how do you like my crane style?
I don't know what's scarier, El Jefe or his lame jokes.
Sly, you don't have a leg to stand on, friend.
It really doesn't.
Stop running away.
Like you literally have nothing to be talking shit about.
You got no chance. Ring-tailed rat.
Oh, we're back to the good old slurs. Yes.
Why won't you quit?
Something about that had the same energy of Wooly going, "The race war starts now!"
Thank you for noticing.
Was that Final Fantasy X?
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that playthrough. I miss Best Friends.
Sly. 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 What the fuck is it? Oh my god.
Oh, that's new.
Walk in.
Easy clap. Never had a single doubt in my goat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Why are you looking at him like you're gonna fucking kill him, dude? Holy shit. What? Oh yeah. Isn't this gonna just kill your mans right here? You're hitting him with the fucking like toxic gas. Who the fuck is that? Oh? Bro, why do they go to fucking warp like in Star Trek? What the fuck?
El
El Jefe was defeated, disgraced, and delivered to the cops. But it was a hollow victory. I'd failed to get back Ryuichi's cane, and we still had no idea who was really behind this whole thing. One thing was for sure.
Why is it
somebody powerful enough?
Oh, is he a skunk? Calling it now.
I believe so, yeah.
For an update on the Thievius Raccoonus, and it looked like Tennessee Kid Cooper needed our help next.
Ah, my boy!
Back to the
I wonder why this might be Dino's favorite.
That's my boy Tennessee.
Like an old sheriff's badge.
Tennessee Kid Cooper.
My boy Tennessee Cooper.
It all made sense. After sampling the badge, Bentley was able to calibrate the time machine. As we prepared to make the jump back to the Old West, I found myself wondering how Carmelita was doing.
Bro, is she dumb to you, bro?
Sly, I know you love Latinas. I'm certain we'll find one somewhere in the West. Penelope once disguised herself as the Black Baron. I know, that's why I can't keep doing these jokes.
In the Wild West, looking for my ancestor, Tennessee Kid Cooper.
I love Tennessee.
Whose bank robberies were some of the most daring in Cooper lore. When we arrived, it took some time to locate him.
Why is this man not wearing
We
pants?
eventually found him.
Don't worry about
prison. His arrest was the handiwork of the local sheriff, who had celebrated by posting his own picture all over town. Talk about an ego. We needed to bust Tennessee out of jail. But after some furious calculations, Bentley determined that the best way to do that was from the inside. For the first time in my career, I was going to have to let the law catch me. This could be a real challenge.
You know Sly likes pants too. It's okay. You aren't looking at it. You ain't looking at it. You're not thinking about it, right?
Balatro.
Huh? What?
It was on the table.
It is on the table.
They had Balatro in the Wild West?
That's crazy.
It's wild, bro. Like, look at that shit. Oh, what's this? This little ditty playing.
1884.
Sly, they're already rigging a noose for Tennessee, so we don't have time for a complicated plan. All my data.
What do you mean they're already rigging a noose for my mans? What the fuck?
We gotta kill Tennessee, dude.
Like, Jesus Christ. How long ago has it been since they caught him?
Sorry, Sly.
5 minutes.
We're gonna reach Tennessee in time. There's just
Oh, the little bull boys are fucking dressed like the strawberry. Yay.
to get yourself thrown in there, you're gonna have to gain outlaw status. So you need to make sure you build a rep before they catch you. Otherwise, they'll throw you in with the common criminals.
Ugh, you mean like jaywalkers and litter bugs? Not gonna happen.
Well, around these parts, it's probably more like goat thieves and tobacco spitters. But you get the point. For starters, why don't you try defacing all those posters of the sheriff around town? That ought to put a burr under his saddle.
This music's really good.
Because we're in the Old West? Well, anyway, I'll just let you get started.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching Down on the Range right now, Charu. You know, the Disney movie with the cows? Roseanne Barr as a cow, she's gonna call me a
jokes where you see the punchline way before it happens.
you see it coming down the street.
You get halfway through the joke, I'm like, all right, there's only one place this can go.
We're talking about Roseanne Barr. I'm only gonna have one way to take this.
I'd buy that one.
Not for sale. It's Puny Greenhorn.
It did also have Randy Quaid as the villain. They got this man as the thinker.
Wow. I bet the
The
original
thunker.
artist damaged his vision staring at this guy.
I like it, Sly.
Let's hope so. I call it
Stinks.
counterfeit courage.
Is he an armadillo? Yes, he is. Which is very fucked up for Sly to be like, this motherfucker ugly. Because armadillos are cute. I saw a video recently of a guy just being like, he just started driving up to like drive-thrus like, hey, do you want to see my pet armadillo? And people are just like, oh my God.
If I was as homely as this guy, I would not hang my picture everywhere.
You can't say that, Sly. True, though.
I wish I could tell
Why you draw his like dick and balls? Live on stream. Slyford Cooper, you can't do that.
Yes, like you can't just pants someone. They don't have pants in the pants to begin with.
I don't think vain begins to describe this guy.
Looking good, Sly.
It's an improvement. I'll name this one the Homely Buckaroo.
I'm Andy's them by putting underwear on them to teach them shame. Oh shit, Dingo with the dogs! Moided. I like how Sly Cooper runs off Sonic the Hedgehog rules with guys don't wear pants, but the women almost fully clothed. They have to protect their modesty.
I don't know. Carmelita didn't really have much of a top.
I love a
But she was wearing a top and a skirt and used to wear pants. Like, she knows. She gets it. She understands the rules of this wacky, inflatable, waving, flailing arm, flailing tube man lifestyle we're in. To the negative zone with you. How the fuck do I get up there? Why is it like that?
Wait, hold on, go to your right.
Oh, I gotta like...
There you go.
They gave the only naked CEO Sonic character with like Sandally initially, and they gave her a coat. Yep. Look, the reason why, you know why, right?
Not really.
Let's just say that Sonic fans and furries are joined together at the hip for a reason.
Oh, I know that.
I believe it.
This guy's a real egomaniac.
I think you just achieved troublemaker status, Sly.
Oh, now this really chaps
I'm going to find this artist and bust his thumbs! And maybe his pinky.
Maybe his penis.
Yeah, I thought he was going there too at first. I'm glad I wasn't alone.
You ready for phase 2?
Absolutely.
Apparently, the sheriff also loves lollipops, but his favorite is a particular Cuban variety which has to be shipped in specially. Supposedly, they taste like rice and beans.
Gross.
Agreed. But
Actual racism joke.
he'll have to wait weeks for the next shipment.
Yeah,
and
a little
that
bit, yeah.
will really tick him off.
Hello?
What? What's up?
Oh, the screen share just froze for me.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? What happened?
Like the moment the cutscene ended, you moved one step and then it just stopped.
Oh, okay. That's why I was like, what? What's wrong? What happened?
I thought it was the screen share, so I was like waiting for a bit, and then just didn't move.
Cuban
crashed.
Cuban lollipop wasn't the goddamn. Look, it's an E-rated game, and I want the armadillo to have an oral fixation. Shut up.
On the other hand, though, like El Jefe just had a cigar.
He literally just had a cigar. Ow! You ain't coming after me, bro.
The music in this chapter is so good.
Oh, hey, buddy. I'm beating your ass. Ooh. I'm beating your ass, bro. Ooh, don't see me.
Nah, it's fine.
I bet Murray would like that lollipop.
Great job! You just became a criminal, Sly.
Finally.
Wow.
After all these years.
I'm finally a criminal.
This is the one that did it.
Stealing candy from a baby. That's the joke. Oh, I'm not supposed to go down there. Ooh, I misread. Look at this little guy.
Look at him go.
He wants fuck all to do with me. You know what? Fair, Chief.
Does not want to do a single thing with the criminal.
All right, this is going perfectly. You'll be locked up in no time.
You know, you're a little too excited about sending me to the slammer, Bentley.
It's all about the job, Sly. Speaking of which, in case you hadn't noticed, this Sheriff Toothpick is his own biggest fan. In fact,
Is it bad that I read your message of Lizard Review as Lizard Review so scrunkly adventurous?
Right. Let's go rain on this guy's parade.
So what, you want me to... Oh shit. Oh, you got back!
Oh, he's alive!
Coming back?
Okay, I just need to get up to that banner.
Yeah, I'm on it, Sly. I'm trying. Get out of here, bitch.
They walk so normally, it's a little off-putting.
Look, that's how you know that they're down to
This guy
clown.
has an appreciation festival for himself. Okay, there's the banner. I just need to knock those clothespins off.
He's dialogue canceling.
Hold your fires, boss! Down there is the scribbling, lolly thieving outlaw I've been looking for!
Well, amigo.
You just booked yourself a permanent room in this stony lonesome.
Average small furry at the convention. Looking at the two big guys. And they busted mine. Then they're gonna eat the ass like apple pies. I will get that steerable fist spin. I ain't got enough for that. Oh, I kind of want to get trigger bomb. Bentley. Finally, with Sly in jail, I can have my date night with Murray in the geisha outfit. Oh shit! Hey, buddy.
Jackrabbit. Not dead yet. No. Okay.
My man does like no fucking damage, dude. Oh shit, they shooting! Why did Sly never get a dive kick? Too powerful.
Correct.
He would simply be too strong.
Looks like it's up to me to recon the area.
Oh, Bentley doesn't have a little like speaking to himself briefing because he's just talking to himself. That's good. That's a really good wake up. Holy shit. Insane wake up on these dingoes.
He fucking dabbed on you.
He did dab on me, but now he's dead. It's okay.
Sly and Tennessee Kid Cooper are in that high tower.
He's back. Get back down there. He has a picture of Penelope in his binoculars. I would look at it if I wasn't engaged in mortal fucking combat. Oh, he does! But it's her new design, which looks weird. So I don't like it as much. Didn't they instantly dump each other? No!
No. The story of this game goes, one day Penelope just disappeared. Like literally disappeared.
Well, I was narrating the story, so I couldn't tell you that she found my post on 4chan.
Inside. Let me get a shot. Unless I'm mistaken, that is definitely a munitions dump. Very handy.
No, in the beginning of the game, Penelope has a...
Dead immediately.
That is definitely a munitions dump. Very handy.
Oh my god. You're killing your own boy! What the fuck is this? The jungle juice? Hurry and bring the treasure back to the hideout before time runs out or it being damaged. Oh, this is a bad
some
time.
of these are timed. They're worth a lot of money, though.
Oh, this is a bad time, though, because... Oh, what the fuck?
You don't smell shit. 8, 6.
Wait, is the hideout up top? Oh, fuck.
Yes.
God damn it.
Aha! There is clearly some structural weakness along the rear wall.
Don't worry, we're almost at the point. I think I played up to this point on the Vita.
Howdy. Howdy yourself. Looks like you must have ticked old Toothpick off pretty good. I like that. You got a name?
Wait, you sound familiar too.
Sly Cooper.
Now, son, you should know I don't take kindly to folks funning on my family name.
Whoa. I swear, I'm not joking. I can explain.
Talk ain't worth spit, boy.
Sam Riegel? Ah, there we go.
You're a Cooper. Bust us out of here.
Right. My friend Bentley's working on that. I hope.
Sly, press the square button to swing that ball.
Swing your balls right now!
Like it's made of fly. You need to make your way to the bottom of the tower.
Oh my god.
Sly, here's your chance. Use the ball to break down that door and bust Tennessee out.
There's a convenient red button.
Oh, I have the cane.
Okay, kids, stand clear. All right. I guess break time is over.
Where does the ball go, Sly?
You can probably move that
Furry secret, don't ask.
Correct answer.
Why am I the only one with a ball and chain?
Listen, friend, they're planning on hanging me tomorrow. You want to trade?
You know what? Good reply. Oh, what are these? Ah, oh, good. Oh, good.
We're safe.
Did Twilight Princess take from Sly or did Sly take from Twilight Princess? I'm pretty sure Twilight Princess came out first.
That was the GameCube and Wii.
Is also entirely possible that 2 humans on the planet Earth would have the same idea but didn't know it.
Dennis the Menace, I don't believe you.
Howdy! I just wanted to let you all know that I really like the design of the speaker system. I know many of you were injured getting it built, but I am real happy. So it looks like all your pain was worth it. I love getting my new...
I should probably explain that for people at home. Did you know, chat room, that there is an American and a UK version of Dennis the Menace, and they are both literally called Dennis the Menace, and they both have completely different styles, and they both were literally created on the same fucking day.
Huh?
Yep.
I think that's right, yeah.
They were both literally made on the same day by 2 people on completely opposite sides of the world, and neither one of them knew about the other. And then they just both were fucking like, wait a minute. So we both made Dennis the Menace, and it's like, yep. On the same day. This man's still yapping. Shut up, bro.
He likes hearing himself talk.
just recently, two game devs made a game called Piece by Piece, and they both released on the same day, and they both selling them together as a bundle as a result. All right, that's actually a really good bit. Oh my god!
You can probably move that container if you hit it hard enough, Sly.
Why am I the only
What happened to you? I looked away for 1 second.
I hit a fucking TNT barrel and it blew the fuck up. Instantly dead. I keep thinking I'm ranged enough that it won't kill me, and then it kills me immediately. Frame 1. Don't. Yeah, no, I don't know what you guys are talking about when you say this game is bad. I think this game is pretty good. It's pretty alright. Granted, I wish this motherfucker would shut up.
Oh, Toothpick never shuts up.
I'll just stay right here and lend you my moral support.
But, yeah, no. Otherwise, I feel like this game is pretty good. It is more gimmicky, though. Somehow more gimmicky than even Sly 3.
It's also significantly more quippy, but, you know, it's the whole series is silly to begin with.
You can probably move that container.
Oh no.
What the fuck? He immediately fucking hard knocked down into the fucking Oh, you played this through the janky cloud service that the PlayStation had back in the day. I remembered that. Back when like PlayStation was like, hey guys, we're gonna get into the cloud streaming game.
Oh, I vaguely remember this.
You remember Game Tap? We're doing that too. Fuck you. And the shit sucked. The PlayStation version.
PS4, yeah?
Yeah. I don't want to hear him say this shit again, dude.
Then you better lock in, gamer.
Listen, I heard you weren't really listening to me the last 5 times I've done this, but I just want to reiterate how awesome I am.
Can you tell that I'm just kind of doing a shitty not Pepe the Prawn? Okay?
You do that voice really well.
No, I don't. Honestly, don't start this again. We can't be pushing this narrative again.
I was like, holy shit, Pepe's here. I can't believe it.
We can't do this narrative too. I'm already doing Bentley. I can't do Pepe too. Listen, absolutely not.
Right, you're gonna need Tennessee to carry the TNT to blow the perimeter wall. Needless to say, you'll want to make sure he steers clear of things like fire or bullets.
Naturally. Thanks, Bentley.
Son, who is it you keep talking to?
I have a thing in my ear that lets me talk to my friend. And now he's telling me you need to carry some of that TNT so we can blow the gate.
His Muppet bloodline technique. I refuse. Declined.
They've been right so far. Let's get to it.
I like that response. Well, the voices in your head have been right so far.
I mean, what else are you gonna do? Tennessee is schizophrenic? He's not schizophrenic. He's just like, whoever this guy is, this other raccoon is also just, he's schizophrenic. He's just like, all right. It's bound to be.
Figure I'll wait by the door while you work this one out.
Oh no, it actually calls it the granary block puzzle. Oh no. Don't do that. Why are you still talking? Big dog, don't you know the #1 sign of I don't have shit to do is you constantly yapping?
Yeah, listen, I know you've all been asking for raises, but she's not in the budget this season.
Well, looks like we can mosey
You see, we can't take you to the theater and go see Muppets on Parade, okay? It doesn't work.
Don't duff you. Oh, you did it.
No, I busted his balls with my big ball. What is this Oregon music? Why are we getting holier than thou with the music? Oh fuck. The piggies! Hello!
You startled them.
But they're so spotted. Polka dotted piggies! That's how Tanuki fight. They throw their big ball at people. Do you think Sly would find that as insensitive?
Tennessee forward. Just avoid the flames.
Probably not.
He's not a Tanuki, so.
Looks like our goose ain't cooked yet. Well, looks like our goose ain't cooked
I had an image of him exploding like Bubsy in Bubsy 3D.
Yeah? Look, I didn't put together that like, oh yeah, these things are
All right. I guess break time is
going to immediately kill Tennessee. Uh-oh.
Like that?
Look, there's a wall in the way.
Looks like our goose ain't cooked yet.
Oh, that's an insta-kill for me too.
Looks like our goose ain't cooked yet.
All right, I'm putting it together. I'm seeing it. I understand.
Fire, death.
Fire bat, look. Sly has jumped into fire before in the previous games. It wasn't an insta-kill.
Sly's weaker. He's older.
Stove hot? I'm hotter, damn it.
This TNT ain't gonna blow itself up, you know? Well, looks like we can mosey along.
Murray is hotter too. You saw those fucking boys in the last game section.
I was honestly jealous.
My man went to the ATM and got a whole stack of paper for him.
Well, it looks like somebody's supplying toothpick with new technology. That is a face card for race, Sly. One touch means instant death. Switch it to your jailbird costume and try using that ball in a different way. Press the R2 button to get on top of it. You should be able to ride it around using the left stick.
Thank God they don't make you tilt for this.
I would have screamed, bro.
God, yes.
I'll just stay put and pretend like I'm not carrying enough TNT to blow myself to kingdom come.
I also want you to know that all of the chat room may not know this, and maybe you guys don't either, but on the PS Vita, all of those shitty motion control sections stay 100% intact, baby.
Oh.
Sly, it appears that archway in front of the door is some kind of locking mechanism. And that block is the key. Now you just need to figure out how to get it in there.
So, tell me about Sheriff Toothpick.
Toothpick?
I see it already.
That shady son of a gun is crookeder than a sack of corkscrews. Plus,
I think I do too.
blamed me for the bank and took the gold himself. There's no.
No, unfortunately.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to do this one yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that one second.
I'm gonna fucking shove that mic down your throat, dude. I swear to God.
I'm sorry to say that we have canceled Cookie Wednesdays due to budgeting issues. But the good news, I did buy myself some new pants.
I promise you, the next guy that asks me if I know comment, I'm going to kill you.
Use the ball to get across the floor, Sly.
What the fuck are these puzzles, bro?
Glad I'm carrying the TNT.
Is that a metal crusher?
I
Oh my God, it is.
What is the function of this room?
Why did I bounce off like that? Ah! What is the function of this room? That's the dick flattening machine of 1886. No, don't do it again, please.
I didn't know we were playing Super Monkey Ball.
Okay. Hit the block.
Funny how I'm the one who's got to lug the dynamite.
Motherfucker, you don't want to deal with the shit I'm doing. Shut up.
He even said it himself at the start of this room.
I just want to say I knew you was a Cooper the second I laid eyes on you.
Thanks, but Tennessee, we need to go.
Why are you screaming? Oh my God.
You ready?
Well,
He has tinnitus. It's gonna wear off in a bit.
whoa.
Well, you know what? I see it's now late enough in the day that
Somehow, we had managed to survive and make it back to the hideout. Once there, Tennessee gave us the lowdown, how he'd been planning the bank heist that should have gone down in Cooper lore as his masterpiece, only to have a mysterious new sheriff arrest him before he even reached the bank. Curiously, the robbery still occurred, and all the bank's gold was stolen. Tennessee was charged even though he was already in prison, and the gold was never recovered. Of course, he had a strong suspicion it was Sheriff Toothpick himself who had stolen the gold and framed him. And after a little research, there was no doubt he was right. Bentley was able to uncover plenty of information about the sheriff. Although he changed his appearance somewhat, Toothpick was
Hey,
a
you take his
two-bit
fucking
gangster from
bro.
present-day Eastern Europe. According to his file, he'd grown up loving two things: gold and cowboy movies. He eventually specialized in gold robberies, and for a while had masterminded some of the largest scores around the world. Then he abruptly vanished. The word was he had always thought of himself as a gunslinger, and it looked like he had found a way to make that a reality. The guy was a real loose cannon. We'd have to watch our backs if we were going to steal back the missing gold and restore Tennessee Kid Cooper's reputation as the greatest outlaw of the Old West.
That's cool gun can.
Which never really made much sense to me. Okay. Well, what I was going to say earlier, but I wanted to let the cutscene rock, was, hey, now I can tell it's late enough in the day that my model is trying to eat his own arms.
Oh.
Because it's now too dark in the room that I'm in. But we'll call it there. I think this is a perfect stopping point.
Yeah, you just bust out of the joint.
We look at my man looking at you real fucking mean mug from his chair. I can't even select him. Can't even select him. He's just looking at me mean mugging hard as fuck. Off stream, I will go back.
Time to enjoy delicious hand.
No! I'm going to get the rest of the bottles, as well as, you know, do some other stuff. So we'll get caught up, and I'll work it out with the other guys here on this call when we might do it. Because of, you know, how times work and we always have to start late, we might do this during the main week. You know, we'll see how it works. So keep an eye out for that. But for now,